Okay, the reason why I made this video is because sometimes, social media, YouTube, stuff like that, I heard men, say stuff like, why would somebody sign up to be a stepdaddy? If you're a woman and you of a certain age, typically I think it sounds like if you like mid-30s on up, that's a wrap. Nobody don't want you. You probably got a kid. You probably got more than one kid. Ain't nobody trying to, ain't no man trying to, have to deal with that. And, people say it make no sense to take on nobody else's kids. It make no sense to be a stepdaddy. And it got me to thinking, right? This a couple things that it got me to think about. And once I started thinking about these things, I was thinking, okay, this might go a little deeper than the people who saying that even realize. Check this out. Okay, the first thing I start thinking about in relation to this, I was thinking, okay, dude, I don't think even the people who say this, right? Because they talking about when you're a stepdaddy, of course you have to take on somebody else, some kids that's not yours. You have to provide and do all this work. Cool, right? But I was thinking, right? I think a lot of those men who say that, if they found out that they had a dude in the neighborhood or some men in the neighborhood or what have you, right? They was like supporting, let's say, Little League football. They was buying all the uniforms for them. If they had a kid or some kids who couldn't afford cleats, right? They was buying cleats for them. Somebody was just decided to be part of a mentorship program, right? Where they giving the kid advice, taking the kid on trips, showing them different things, broadening his horizons. Even if it's not a temporary situation. If somebody saw a little dude who was out on the streets and somebody saw him going down the wrong path and a man just said, man, you know what? I know what it's like. Let me take him under the wing, keep him out of the street, get him on the right path. And he allowed him to actually permanently stay with him. I don't think those men will frown upon that. I think the man who buying the kids uniforms, football uniforms, the kid who looking out for the other children who don't have cleats, the one who taking people in, I think those same men will actually say, okay, I see you, man, I applaud you for doing what you're doing, looking out for the little one, man. He was headed down the road. I don't think they will have a problem with that, even though that's, you taking care, you taking on, the responsibility of looking out for, financially providing, and, taking care of that child or looking out for that child, right? So, now the second part that it got me to thinking about, once I start thinking about that, I think that, see, what's the difference between taking care of a child? You just a dude, you see a dude going down the wrong path and you decide to take him in and look out for him. What's the difference between that and taking care of a child that somebody's, if a woman have a child and you dealing with that woman and y'all get married and you take care of that child? What's the difference, right? You still taking on that kid, right? Either way it go. The difference is one of them involves romance in a relationship and one of them don't. And that got me to that. And this is what got me to, I'm like, this don't be a stepdaddy thing. I think it's more about the men who feel that way having an issue when it comes to dealing with women in a romantic way or in a sexual way, right? They might have some hardships in that area. They might have, had some bad experiences in that area. They might have had some headaches in that area. They might have been to blame for some of the hardships and the headaches and not taking self-accountability. In some instances, they might not be. Might have stumbled across a woman who just did them bad, and now they got, they got some issues with women. But bottom line is, when you remove the romance out of it, the relationship aspect, the sex aspect out of it, that very same thing they wouldn't have a problem with doing, or they would give somebody credit for doing. Add the romance, and now it's a problem. So look, if you somebody who feel like that, right? If you somebody who feel like it don't make no sense to be a stepdaddy, why would anybody sign up to be a stepdaddy? That's stupid. A woman already have kids of a certain age. Ain't nobody trying to deal with that. Serious question, fellas, if you're watching this, or if you know a guy who feel that way, present this question to them. Would you feel the same way about somebody who decided to mentor a kid to the point where he took him in because he saw that kid life going down the wrong path and he said, I'm gonna, show him the right way? Would you really have a problem with that? If you ain't got a problem with that and you got a problem with the stepdaddy thing, your problem is probably really, you probably got some stuff that you might need to work on or heal or go about at least dealing with the right way when it comes to romance, when it comes to dealing with women. That's what that's probably really truly about. Because ain't nothing wrong with looking out for a youngster. Generally speaking, I don't think people have a problem with that. Another thing, right? Because it got me to thinking. When a man get of a certain age, let's say 34, 35 on up, because that mid-30 type age, they would already have a kid. Not all men, don't get me wrong. Just like you don't have all women who is at least 35. You have some women over 35 with no kids. You have some men over 35 with no kids, right? But for the most part, I think a man or a woman who's of a certain age or older may have at least one kid now, right? So this is not even synonymous with a woman being at least 35. If you're a man that's 35, you probably gonna already have at least one kid. So that really got me to thinking, how could that standard be set and thrown out for just a woman when you got men of that age who probably gonna already have at least one kid and it don't count for them? And what that got me to further thinking about is, see, you have some dudes who have a kid but don't have their kid or don't have a kid. Basically, they're not in their child life, right? See, the woman usually is going to be the one, if she have a kid, she got the kid, right? But if you over 35 and you have a kid and you not in their life, or you may be in their life, but they living with somebody else, yeah, that's still kind of as a kid. Now, when y'all move in together, if you meet a woman, and you have a kid who live with somebody else, okay, you just don't have your kid with you, but you still got a kid. Now look, this ain't to dog nobody out, but we gotta just be real. If you already got a kid and you ain't even taking care of the kid, you're not even in that child life, and will look down on somebody because they actually still have their kids, what are we really talking about here? Especially if you don't have a problem with somebody looking out for a troubled youth and taking them in. Right? Another thing, right? I think men who actually, because see the thing, you don't really have, I think if you see somebody that's a single parent, it's probably the mother. The mother is probably going to be the one who have the kid. So you don't really see I know men who are single, parents, don't get me wrong. But like I say, for the most part, it's going to be women, right? So I think it's easier for men to just throw that out there because for the most part, the person who's going to be the custodial parent with the child or the children with them at all times, really taking care of them, going to be the woman, and it's easier for the man to finger point. But it doesn't make any sense for men of a certain age who probably already got a kid, taking care of the kid or not, the kid not living with them or not. You got a kid too. I mean, come on. Like I say, that's why I feel the logic of the argument, whether it's not having a problem with somebody taking in the troubled youth, or you already having a kid too, who just don't stay with you, but you got one, that woman still, if you're being a good enough parent, if you're gonna still have to have dealings with the mother of your child, she gotta have dealings with the mother of your child. That's another situation that can be going on. And of course, that got to take place on the man dealing with the woman with the kids too. Don't get me wrong. But the logic of this whole thing don't really make sense, right? I'm telling you, man, the deeper issue is the dealing with that person, that woman, in that romantic lane, man. You need to figure out what's really going on. You might have some legitimate gripe with how you may have been treated or what was done to you when dealing with people in that lane, but you got to go about dealing with it and healing from it the right way. So you're not just operating and just lashing out, because this argument logically it don't really add up. It just sounds like a lash out. a romantic lash out. You know, just operating through like romantic pain, and it don't really logically add up to me. It don't really make that much sense when you really break it down.